PlayStation Network went down. I did not care to make a video about it. What do I care? I'm over here playing Mortal Kombat. The only thing I could remember is I didn't see PlayStation players on crossplay. Now, when I looked, you guys were messaging me and all of the above, and I was like, oh, well, I guess apparently the network is down. I guess, they're going to get it back up. So apparently there was a breach, all of this stuff, but believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, that's not the issue. The issue here is, and you guys saw my, when I read just half of what I could of Jez's article yesterday, he basically comes back and turns it around as a wake-up call for Microsoft/Xbox. I could not believe my eyes. He said, PSN being down should probably be a wake-up call for Microsoft/Xbox about how much money you can potentially lose if you rely on others' ecosystems to provide your access to customers. Now, people started asking him like, bro, what the heck is this? He said, for fanboys who can't read properly, this is a criticism of Satya Nadella's apparent philosophy that Microsoft doesn't need to offer its own hardware endpoints. Why in the world would Satya Nadella have that kind of philosophy when the Xbox is still selling in this category? And how does Xbox, which is basically one of the biggest hardware sales units, coming into this conversation? I think you got called out, Jez, and that's why you basically had to come in and clarify with the gaslighting, which is kind of rude for fanboys that can't read. That's kind of a rude way to put it. I would say that probably the best thing you could have done is, I didn't word this correctly, but this could be the potential issues that we're seeing. But I think you may have an agenda against Xbox. I don't know what it is. I thought, I would have thought that he was an Xbox fan, but someone's told me before, since the Windows Phone got canceled, Windows Central has been really interesting the way they've been writing articles when it comes to Xbox. Now, here's the crazy thing. PlayStation Network being down, that is a PlayStation problem. That has nothing to do with Xbox. That has nothing to do with Take-Two Interactive. That has nothing to do with Ubisoft. That has nothing to do with Epic Games. That has nothing to do with EA. It has nothing to do with anybody who is selling or who has players playing some of the biggest games on the PlayStation platform. It is all PlayStation's responsibility to ensure that their services are available for the companies and the gamers who have all claimed hold of a game that needs online requirements on their platform. Xbox should never even have come into the entire conversation by any stretch, because what this does is it now has somewhat taken some of the required criticism that PlayStation should be getting and is now focusing it on Xbox. Perhaps this is rage bait. But if you had to clarify it, and this ain't rage bait, this is probably your understanding of the matter in this regard. And he says the problem here is because 65% of Xbox income now comes from PlayStation Network, and it's almost entirely service games. Okay. So what's going on? How is that Xbox's problem that PlayStation needs to sort out its network issues? Because we could also use the same or a similar tactic and say other publishers on PlayStation platform who have probably 70% or maybe more, like EA, right? Think about EA. If he's complaining about, Xbox right now, think about EA, right? EA's got also just probably as much in terms of player count. And think about Epic Games, who primarily Fortnite is played on the PlayStation console, even more than PC. So what in the world should we now do? Why is Xbox name in this whole conversation and nobody else's is? Did he say, well, this should be a thing where, Fortnite should probably expand more on other consoles or mobile or whatever? None of that was said. Which is quite interesting, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we've been talking about in terms of the Xbox stacks. It's either this or Xbox ranks in the algorithm very highly. And so many people will cite Xbox in many situations when Xbox has basically nothing to do with it. Xbox is literally walking down the road on its own, just chilling, just relaxing, just enjoy, just hey, we're getting games to people, what, and then next thing you know, everyone's like, oh, PlayStation Network is down, Xbox, what are you doing? Where are you? What have you done? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, this is exactly why you can never have these conversations from a realistic perspective. If you play on PlayStation and you're listening to this video and you're a huge PlayStation fan, you hate Xbox, this one alone should let you know that you are being fed a whole bunch of bollocks by a lot of these people that are writing about PlayStation and Xbox in the gaming press. This particular scenario, because I guarantee you're holding your PlayStation console, or you were at the time it was down, it's come back up. You were holding your PlayStation console if you wanted to play at the time, and there was not a thought about the fact that Xbox was going to potentially not be making money. If we said you were happy about that, then you would also have to go ahead and admit that this downfall of PlayStation, you would have to have celebrated it because you felt it harmed Xbox, which will make you psychotic. But you're not psychotic. I know some of you can be overbearing. Yes, I know some of you can be, a little, challenging to deal with in terms of, agreeing or arguments. But I doubt many of you celebrated PlayStation Plus being down because it had the potential to provide a downfall for Xbox. Or is the PlayStation community that sadistic that they would shoot themselves in the foot if it harmed Xbox, or cut their nose off if they felt it harmed Xbox, even though this has nothing to do with Xbox? This is exactly the challenge with so-called games journalism these days. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity, those of us, that probably weren't journalists or whatever, or writers or whatever, we had the opportunity to be able to come out here and try to make sense of the gaming industry, because if we were to rely on a lot of this stuff, it would probably drive us mad. I saw a comment, and you see, you may think this is an isolated issue, but it's not an isolated issue. FX, one of our audience members, FVJTFJNX6535, said this: Tech Critic comments about the PlayStation outage still has to bash Xbox. Then they quote who? Jez Gordon. As Jez Gordon from our colleagues over at Windows Central says on X, the PSN outage is just bad news for Sony and players at home. Every gaming community from indies up to Ubisoft relies on it as a key way to make money, especially with the death of dedicated gaming stores the world over. Jez is particularly referencing the fact that Microsoft is increasingly launching its games on more platforms, and there has been some fear that the company would abandon its own hardware. PlayStation Plus going down, and Xbox is going to leave hardware business. Everyone who has ever mentioned that talking point, this is your evidence to know that you are being gaslit. You're being manipulated by a bunch of guys that have a keyboard, and they somehow think that they're intellectually capable of making sense of what's going on. This is your sign right here. If you ever make that statement after reading this or watching this video, then you're being dishonest. Simple. Look at this. Given how much it struggled for success against both the PS4 and PS5, it's not like the outage will affect the imminent launch of Indiana Jones: The Great Circle on PS5 this spring. Well, we're hoping that this is absolute insanity. It's like I've walked into an asylum and there are crazy people all over the place. Oh my goodness. This is intellectual bankruptcy. This right here that everybody is seeing, where not the fact that these folk are not intellectually aware, but they have intellectually taken what amount they have and they've thrown it away. That's what they've done. They have been irresponsible with their intellectual currency. For this nonsense to have been written digitally or on paper or even thought of is where we know that we are cooked in this gaming conversation. Do y'all just see what happened? Do y'all just go through what I just went through? I've lost respect for everybody who has basically taken this stance. No longer am I going to treat you with any special gloves anymore. Because reality seems like it's something that is a little far away for some of you to comprehend. It's interesting, ladies and gentlemen. All this talk about Microsoft hardware and all this stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know what the reality is, though? If this stuff is coming from Windows phones, right? you still can go back and take a look and say, okay, what is all the fuss about Xbox leaving hardware because of the Windows Phone? When I looked up the number of Windows phones, they only sold 1.8 million units by 2018. I was a Windows Phone user around 2013, 2014, maybe 2015. So all those years, they only able to push 1 million, 2 million units of these devices. With Xbox, if we add all the Xbox Ones at almost 60 million and we add all the Xbox Series at 30 million, they have pushed 80 million Xbox One units that are still being at least supported to an extent. Full support for the series. That is 40 times more hardware. Why would they ever look at it and say, no, we're not going to deal with it? I'm going to dedicate my time now to making videos against all of these bad actors because it will benefit me. So I might as well farm y'all for this intellectual dishonesty that you guys are engaging in. This would be great. I'm at 11 minutes. Comment section. Peace out.